This is episode number 6 of the Sports File 35-year reboot. Today's topics we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets. We'll lead things off with in their playoff run that they're currently on as they're trying to close out their first round series against the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll then dive into the Denver Broncos and talk a little bit about the draft, obviously, that happened last week. And I have some thoughts to share around, court drafting Bo Nix, who we've been talking about for a few weeks on the pod. And then topic number 3 will be the Tottenham Hotspurs, how they're kind of sputtering out here as they really need to try to get into the top 4 of Champs League. And then we'll have our current recommendations on some kind of restaurants that I've been attending to in Denver. First up, the Denver Nuggets. I mean, what can be said about the Denver Nuggets, right? Um, Doing great, playing really, really well. Had a chance to close out versus the Lakers 2 nights ago. They didn't in LA. They were kind of down that whole game. They're currently up 3-1. The previous matchups, their previous wins before that versus the Lakers, they had 2 at home, 1 on the road. In kind of a typical Nuggets, if you look at the patterns of how the Denver Nuggets play, it's been pretty typical. They come in and they essentially start off rather slow, right? They keep up, they're doing okay. Then they typically let up a lead, and then they typically get down by whether it's 5, 10 points. The margin doesn't really seem to ever matter with the Denver Nuggets. And then it's usually when they come out, they absolutely in the third quarter turn it on. And if you can go through and look at some of their stats, I think one of the games, I think it was the second game, they were down, started off the second half in the third quarter, close out the third quarter 33-7. Basically, they scored 33 points. Lakers only shot 7, and then that was enabled them to come kind of recapture the lead and finish strong in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of been the pattern here. Is the third quarter is when they make a move, right? The good teams, really good teams like the Denver Nuggets, always seem to do that, right? They're always going to make a move when it counts, and when it really counts is the third quarter and the fourth quarter, right? Nikola Jokic has been playing just incredible, incredible basketball. I went up to ESPN right now, and if I were to look at kind of some of his stats and what he's been doing, it's really quite remarkable that the guy is averaging a triple double in the playoffs right now, which has just been incredible to see. You've got him, team leaders right now, 29 points he's averaging, 15.2 rebounds, and 10 assists a game. You hear this talk through the years. He won the MVP 2 years in a row, didn't win it last year. And then this year, all I hear about is, oh my, it's Jason Tatum. Is he going to be one of the ones that rises up and actually wins the MVP vote? Is it Luka Doncic, right? I mean, right now, if you look at the current odds-on favorites, Jason Tatum is still, the odds-on favorite at plus 230, where Jokic is plus 250, and then Jaylen Brown from the Celtics plus 750. And I'm sorry, when you watch the Celtics, they're just not a very impressive team. They're losing games that they should be winning, and this has been always the concern when you deal with someone like Jason Tatum, is when it really counts, you've got a guy who's really incredibly talented, Tatum, right? Top, definitely a top 10 player in the NBA for sure in the regular season. But that's just it, the regular season. He's really, really good in the regular season. And come playoff time, it always feels like he just comes up short. When you really need him, he comes up short. This real true stars, real MVPs like Nikola Jokic, right? Look, the numbers I just rattled off: 29 points through 4 games so far, 15.2 rebounds and 10 assists. He knows he's the guy. The other teams know he's the guy. And here he is just casually going about his business and is the team leader and is just, I mean, you watch who he goes against and just the attention he draws and what he's able to do versus the Lakers. It's absolutely incredible. It's fair to say he is absolutely Himothy. He is an attendee of Himothy University as the chancellor there. Jokic is just phenomenal. So I fully expect tonight Nuggets are back home at Ball Arena in Denver. That place, I'm guessing, is going to be bonkers tonight. They're probably going to do their patented whiteout T-shirts. Something like that. It would be great if they maybe pulled out the like a navy or even yellow, kind of in your face with the Lakers, and put that on. That place is going to get rowdy tonight, and I think the Lakers are going to find out that the Nuggets are kind of done with this. And I mean, the line right now, I think earlier in the day today it was -5 for Denver. The line's moved to -7, so Las Vegas is definitely seeing, which means to tell me as well is Jamal Murray was questionable earlier in the day with his ankle. I think he's getting ready to come back and play probably the full game, which would be fantastic. And then you'll get a rest period. So I think they're going to smoke the Lakers tonight. I think it is going to be, they are going to probably win by double digits. Denver Nuggets will cruise on, keep moving on, and the games aren't going to get easier. Some of the playoff games have just been phenomenal to watch. You can really see some of the teams but the future is rising up. You've got teams such as Minnesota Timberwolves are playing great. Indiana Pacers are playing great. The New York Knicks are playing great. Celtics, even though I was talking, not so great about Tatum and they're winning in big games, they're still playing pretty great. So right now, it's a great time to be a fan of the NBA and to keep watching these great series. So let's go Nuggets. Time to close it out tonight. All right, topic number two, the Denver Broncos. Let's recap the draft picks that they did the other night through the started on Thursday, went Friday through the weekend. We have talked a lot about on this pod since the inception, right? We said that obviously the Broncos are going to be a focus here. We're going to really talk a lot about them, what they've been doing, and we've been spending a lot of time talking about the need for quarterback. We rewound. We talked about the Russell Wilson saga being a complete disaster and how you need to really step up and get that quarterback you believe in. I did a quick pod on the Zach Wilson trade. I think even then, during that, I think that was just really to get some depth at the position. Really cost you nothing to get Zach. Zach may compete. I mean, I fully expect him to compete. He may end up being the starter coming out of training camp. But the Denver Broncos go with the 12th pick, go and get their guy, Bo Nix. Bo Nix with the 12th pick from the University of Oregon. I like the pick. This has been talked about for a normally kind of tight-lipped group. The Denver Broncos have been under the Sean Payton era. This really got out there that they were, for whatever reason, that they were really into Bo Nix. And Bo Nix, I think, is the most pro ready. He's got 60 plus games under his belt right now. He's played for 5.5, 6 years right now. He's played really, really well. And I think that what you're going to see is Sean Payton is really staking his claim. He did talk to some of the quotes he said afterwards with the game, or after the draft, rather, sorry, where he reminds him of a kind of like a little bit of like a Drew Brees, incredibly accurate. I think one of the knocks with Bo Nix has been, yes, he's really accurate on the short and medium. It was the long ball is where he isn't as accurate, and Sean Payton completely disagrees with that. He said on not only during the University of Oregon's pro day, and then the Broncos held a private workshop, private workout the following day. He said they just put him through 80 plus passes, and this guy just hit everything. Sean Payton's quote on the Pat McAfee show with Bill Belichick the night of the draft was he got into the car after that workout, turned around to all the scouts and his GM and said, "Are you kidding me? This guy, he just hit everything we threw at him." I've been super high on Bo Nix. I think he's a good draft pick. I was reading an article in the Denver Post, Ryan McFadden grading out the Broncos. He gave the Broncos a grade of B. And he basically said, look, it feels like they reached a little with this quarterback, right? Everybody, the quote unquote experts had Bo Nix as a late first round, early second round pick, right? They could have traded back. We've talked about that scenario as well. But there were a true run on quarterbacks. I mean, we had 6 quarterbacks that went really quick. I mean, I think the surprise of them all was Penix going as high as he did and going to the Falcons. Then JJ McCarthy, and what was left was Bo Nix. And I think if you really believe you've got the guy and your quarterback's there, Peyton says they had him graded out as a top 3 quarterback in it. Then go ahead and take it because you never know what's going to happen. You suddenly trade back, and one of the teams, like a Rams or someone like that, decides to trade up, and they grab Bo Nix, and then yeah, you may have gotten an additional draft pick, couple draft picks, but then you're kind of stuck at quarterback for another year. I think Sean Payton deserves the right to get his guy in. Russell Wilson was never his guy. Russell Wilson was brought in by George Payton, had Nathaniel Hackett the first year Payton, but that was never his guy. Could never run his offense, which we've talked about. I think you're going to see this guy really try to invest and mentor Bo Nix, and I think Bo Nix will definitely compete for the starting job coming out of training camp. If he doesn't win it, I do think they're going to hand it off to probably Zach Wilson, maybe Jared Stidham if Zach Wilson isn't doing well. But I think Zach Wilson, has a chip on his shoulder and has something to pay or something to prove rather. I think you might see Zach emerge from training camp as the starter, but it's only a matter of time. They're going to go with Bo Nix. You will see the transition. This year, again, the expectations for the Broncos, it should not be very high. We're probably looking at they are really in the midst of a rebuild. 5 to 6 wins, maybe. You're still probably, maybe you're the third best team, maybe you're the fourth best team in your division. Kansas City, I think, is one of the favorites, along with the Los Angeles Chargers. And then you've got the Raiders and probably the Broncos behind them, depending on how they both play. It wouldn't surprise me. Broncos maybe win 6 games, maybe 6 games, 7 games, maybe. Right, that'd be probably a reach up. And I think the Raiders are in a similar boat. Broncos went on. I think what the article Ryan McFadden was saying as well is probably the best day they had was probably the late round, day 3, right, where they added 2 additional starters on offense. They were able to go ahead and get Bo Nix's teammate, Troy Franklin. I love this pickup. He's a wide receiver. Gives Bo Nix a ton of confidence, right? He knows this guy. He's been playing with him the last couple of years. Really likes playing with him. I think that's such a smart move. Get Bo Nix comfortable. Get him somebody who he's comfortable with. Get that guy in the locker room. Get with him. Get him on the field. Restocks it up, and they were able to draft a running back out of Notre Dame and Estime. And I think Estime is going to be just a pretty good. We'll see. It's a strong physical player. Again, where Peyton really loves that physical pounding the game with first and second down running backs. Javonte Williams, I think, is still obviously the starter, but he's been a little injury prone, right? And I think that this creates another option for them to go with. And so overall, I'm pretty happy with the Denver Broncos draft. I'm realistic about the season. I don't think that this draft suddenly we're contenders by any means. You're never going to be a contender until you find that stud at quarterback. And I'm hoping that guy is Bo Nix. We'll see. We'll see what his true ceiling is, but I do think he has a little bit left in the tank, but he's definitely pro ready. And I think the Broncos are going to enter this season kind of really transitioning into what Sean Payton wanted to do on offense all along. Topic number 3, the Tottenham Hotspurs. Tottenham Hotspurs, what can I say? They were going up against Arsenal this week. We talked about this leading up to here. This is a tough stretch that they're in. They've got to go against the top the top 3 teams in front of them right now in the stretch. The final, let's see, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 7 games remaining, and out of those 3 are the top 3 clubs in the league right now. They really needed to beat Arsenal. And woke up early on Sunday morning to watch them at 7 a.m. It was at Tottenham's. Place looked fantastic. It was a North London derby. What that means is that's a rivalry game. These are 2 teams that are based out of London, specifically in northern London. And these 2 teams don't like each other. Tottenham and Arsenal have never liked each other, and so there's a huge rivalry. This is the big rivalry for Tottenham. Went down. I mean, I think by minute 41, we were down 3-0 to Arsenal, and it was not looking great. We had a chance after Arsenal had scored the first goal, an incredible goal. It was actually ruled an on goal, but it was an incredible move by Saka. Mickey, our defender, came in and looked like the goal to tie it up at 1-1. He was ruled offside ever so slightly. I mean, they dropped the red line on VAR, and it was debatable. I mean, it's really wondering, like, seriously, it should have been kind of a couldn't rule the offsides, and it should have been kept onside. And maybe that's me being just a homer, but it was really, really nitpicking on that one. They end up losing the momentum. Saka gets another goal, then Arsenal gets a third goal. Tottenham goes into halftime, and now they've got to really do something, and they really did. They fought back. They fought pretty fantastic. Christian Romero had a great goal. Goody Romero, defender normally doesn't score. He got up there and was able to get a shot off on a boneheaded play by the Arsenal goalie. Raha, he sort of just, I don't know what he was thinking, but he kicked out the ball and it was a really weak pass. And, and Romero intercepted it and fired on net and scored. And then we were able to draw a penalty later on within the goal box, and Min Sonny was able to put it home to get to 3-2. 3-2. The last 10 minutes of the game were just super exciting. Tottenham really went all in. They essentially had subbed in six attackmen. They had all the big guns out there, and they moved even up the goalie during the corner kicks to try to create an advantage and really try to get the score. Played their hearts out, came up short. Little super disappointing. We're now clearly in fifth place. I think it is going to be really tough to get into the top four. We need a lot of help right now, and I don't know if we're going to get it. We're currently 6 points behind. Next match, we're at Chelsea, another derby in London, which is on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday. We'll see how they do there. They've got to win that game if they have any shot. Then they turn around in on Sunday. They're at Liverpool. Tough environment to go into, and you've got to win this game. And Liverpool has to win this game because they're in the top three and they're fighting, trying to hang on to. They've got to essentially win out if they're going to have any chance for the Premier League title. With Man City and Arsenal in front of them. After that, it gets a little bit easier. We've got Burnley. They should win there. But then we have Man City at home. Man City, depending on how this thing shakes out on May 14th, they may not have clinched the Premier League by then. Arsenal may be still battling along with Liverpool. And so Man City's going to they really have to come in and win. So again, you've got these, Chelsea, never easy. Liverpool, hard game, really hard game. You get a break with Burnley, then you get Man City, and I think that game decides the fate of Tottenham Hotspurs here. We really need some help here. Sheffield United will be the second to last game, and then we close it out with Newcastle. We really need Aston Villa to kind of fumble coming in, but Aston Villa, they don't. I mean, you look at their schedule. It's not. I mean, it's not. It's sort of hard. I mean, they are captured up there in the Europa Conference League semifinals right now, which is the league right below Champions League that we've talked about. They have a game on Thursday, and then they have to turn around and play Brighton on Sunday. But then they turn around the next week back to the Europa because they do two legs on the European Conference Championships League, whether it's Europa or Champions League. They've got to turn around and play them. Then they've got to play Liverpool. Liverpool could be a tough one for them. Crystal Palace, that's never easy. And then that kind of ends their season. So we'll see. I think they need some help here now. I think Europa is clearly looking like is where they're going to end up, which is, if you come in fifth right now, I don't think Premier League's going to get a fifth spot in Champions League based off of how Germany's been performing over there. I think they gobbled that up, so now we're going to be stuck with only the top four, which leaves the Tottenham Hotspurs in fifth, which would be Europa, which is back to a European type league. So it could be worse, but exciting times as the stretch will come in. More to come on how the Tottenham Hotspurs do over the next upcoming days and weeks. All right, topic number 4. I'm going to talk on it briefly. I didn't even mention it on the opening here. But the Avs are just a ton of fun to watch right now. They're playing the Winnipeg Jets. The first game, Winnipeg just annihilated the Avs. But ever since then, they've just turned it on. The Avs have been a ton of fun to watch again. They were at home. They ended up winning 5-1, just playing really, really well. And so that gives you hope. If they can keep playing like this, they definitely can advance in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But they do need to close this game out. I think Winnipeg's done. And then we'll see the Avs move on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, topic number 5, kind of a local Denver scene. Talk about restaurants or bars. This week I'll talk about a couple different places, a little bit more casual. Um, First up is kind of our local quote unquote watering hole. It's right in the neighborhood here in Park Hill, and it's called Neighbors Wine Bar. We've been going to Neighbors since they opened. They've been open, I think, 12 years now, something like that, 12, 13 years. Um, and we've been going for a while. They started off, they took over an old video slash ice cream store back in the day, coffee shop, and then they bought that space and they bought the space next to it, and they've kind of expanded multiple times. We've been going there. They've always been super nice to me and my wife. We go in there usually. I mean, honestly, we go about once a week now. It seems to be our Monday night thing where we go down there. Mondays are typically slow. It's a good thing to go in there, catch up. It's right in the neighborhood. They've got a great little patio out front. Great little atmosphere inside. They've got a good wine selection. They've got more of kind of like snacks are on the menu. So if you're super hungry, this is just me. I love Neighbors. I love the people that work there. It's probably not the place to go get dinner at, but to get some snacks, it's a great place. They have a great selection of cocktails, wine, beer, and most importantly, the people that work there are just great. Through the years, we've become friendly with all the various bartenders and wait staff, and they're just lovely people to deal with and sit and chat with. They know us. They know what we like. Feels like customer service to me. That means everything. They know exactly what kind of wine we like or what kind of beer we like, and then they always are offering up recommendations. And then trying some of their specialty cocktails as well has been fun. And then the next place is Tessa Delicatessen, right down on Colfax. It's like Colfax and Ivy-ish, I want to say, is probably the cross street right around there. Um, they've been in the neighborhood. They opened up during COVID, kind of a tough time to open any place. They've got a big space that they bought. And what they're trying to be is kind of this New York style deli, I think is what you could say. They're their neighborhood deli, is what they would say. Really good stuff in there. Has tons of plants. If you go and sit down there, there's tons of tables. They've got, like I said, plants all over the place. Really, everything's homemade, fresh that they're doing in there. They have a selection of just treats, whether it's cheesecake or brownies or cookies. And then they've got a sandwich board that's just phenomenal. They make all their own bread. All of their sandwiches are pretty darn good. I had this week had the Reuben there. It was really good. Their burgers are great there. They have a chopped cheese, which is a homage to New York, where you go into the bodegas there and get this kind of think of a chopped cheese. If you haven't heard of it, it's like ground beef, and you essentially just kind of chop up the ground beef and then you add a ton of cheese into it, so it's super cheesy. They add some onions in there. They can add their scallion mayo or hot spread to it if you want. And they put it in this kind of seeded bun that's really good. That's an outstanding sandwich that they make. They have a selection of soups that are all pretty good. They also do like quote unquote breakfast there in the mornings. I've had breakfast burritos are outstanding. They've got egg sandwiches, the typical fare that you would see. Great spot. Check it out. Tessa Delicatessen down on Colfax. Okay, that's it for the Sports File, a 35-year reboot. We'll be back next week to talk all things local sports.